there, fantasy owners. Welcome to Lift the Cup Fantasy, or LTC Fantasy as some call it. We're going to continue along with our 21-22 team reviews. Today we're going to look at the Dallas Stars. So we're going to take a look at who led them in different stats for goaltenders, defensemen, and forwards. Who's their biggest fantasy surprise this season? Who's their biggest fantasy disappointment? And who on the roster was a relevant fantasy player on a weekly basis? We're going to continue to have these come out every few days here because no better way than to watch the playoffs and talk a little bit of fantasy hockey. Don't forget to subscribe. That way you catch your favorite teams review. Maybe you want to catch your rivals review, or maybe you want to catch all 32, or just take a look at different teams that you may overlook during the season and see who's relevant fantasy-wise. So we'll jump right into it. For goaltenders, it was the Jake Oddinger show, especially after Holtby got hurt. Oddinger led him in games played at 48, wins with 30. His goals against was nice at 2.53 and his save percentage at 914. Definitely Dallas is set in net because Oddinger is pretty young there. And at the start of the season, it was kind of a platoon situation with Holtby, but after he got hurt, Oddinger took the reins and really ran with it for him. On defense, the different stats leaders, Ryan Suter led him in goals. Wiley Vet, 7 goals. Assist was John Klingberg at 41. He also led him in points at 47. Plus minus was Esa Lindell. He was a +4. Yanni Hakanpää led him in hits at 248. Quite a few hits there. Blocks was also Esa Lindell at 148, and shots on goal was Miro Heiskanen at 156. Overall, Klingberg had another good offensive season. He was an ugly -28 though, which kind of hurts you if you're in a roto league. Klingberg's likely on his way out in Dallas. He's a pending UFA, has a trade request going, so look for him to be elsewhere. That should open the door for Heiskanen to even get a bigger role. Already a good defenseman, but he'll play even a bigger role next year. Should take over the PP, so look at his fantasy numbers to definitely go in the right direction there. Forward stats, Jason Robertson led him in goals at 41. Assist was the old guy, Joel Pavelski, 54. Pavelski also led him in points at 81. Nice season for him. I think he's 37, 36, 37, I believe. Plus minus was Jason Robertson at +16. Luke Glendening led him in hits at 179 hits. Pavelski led him in blocks for an offensive player, forward, leading him in blocks. That's nice to see at 69. And Jason Robertson led him in shots on goal at 220. There's a few with Hintz and Robertson over 200, but Robertson did take it at 220 there. The top line in Dallas of Pavelski, Hintz, and Robertson was dynamite all season long. They're a really good line. Other than that, really, with the season Pavelski had, leading him in assists and points and blocks, I really do wonder if San Jose is missing him right now. Biggest fantasy disappointment for me was Alex Ragilov. Sure, he's older than dirt, but you expected a little bit better than 22 points in 71 games. He is better than that, and I really don't know. Yeah, he sucked this year. No better way to put it there. Biggest fantasy surprise? There's a few surprises there. You could look at Robertson with his 41 goals, but really it has to be Pavelski. He's 37. He had 54 assists, 81 points, led the team in blocks, and 69 there. He really did it all for them, and at his age, that's has to be considered a fantasy surprise. He should be on his downward trajectory, and he averaged basically a point per game and had a really hell of a season there. So who was fantasy relevant on a weekly basis? Jake Oddinger definitely was after Holtby went down. He was a good streamer before. You'd spot start him when he was supposed to start. But after he took the reins, and he should next year for sure have a ton of starts, I don't see why you wouldn't want him on your roster. On the back end, Klingberg, probably not with Dallas next year, but he had another good offensive season. And up front, anybody on the top line, Hintz, Robertson, or Pavelski, was definitely fantasy relevant this year. They had some other streamer options. Heiskanen I'd consider a streamer so far. He might be fantasy relevant on a weekly basis next year for sure. Other than that, there was Suter. He was good on a streamer basis. Ben and Sagan in spot starts if it was a light night. Definitely worth having on your roster. We'll be out in a few days with another team review here. If you did like it, please hit like, hit subscribe, and remember that notification bell. And enjoy the rest of the playoffs, fantasy owners, and enjoy your fantasy off season.